it's Presley at ActOutGames.com here, and today is Craft Monday, and we are going to be doing an update on all the things that we've added to our Crash Course World History timeline. So for those of you who haven't been following me for a while and you guys don't know what the Crash Course World History timeline is, so most of you know that I'm a huge fan of learning things through YouTube and online, and Crash Course is one of my favorite ways to do that. So one of my favorite Crash Courses is Crash Course World History by John Green and lots of other people. So yeah, we decided a long time ago that we would paint a giant timeline on one of my walls, and as we rewatched Crash Course and studied what was happening at those times, we would put them on the timeline, and it's actually really cool to see how everything happens relatively to each other. So you can kind of see like what we've added right now is like the Crusades and the Renaissance. So you can kind of see like the Crusades and the Renaissance kind of blending together a little bit, and you can see that all this stuff is like kind of happening at once, and it's really cool. So like I said, the new things that we've added to the timeline since last time are the Crusades, the Renaissance, and the 7-Year War. So as you can see, sometimes we use something that's really close to what John Green used in Crash Course, like the 7-Year War. We use what was in the background on the chalkboard, and except sometimes we do something completely different. Like for the Renaissance, we used in one of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, we used Raphael for the Renaissance because all the turtles are named off of Renaissance people, so we decided that it would be funny to do a turtle. And then like sometimes, like the Crusades, I just draw my own thing. So I kind of drew my own Crusader, and like it's really cool that sometimes I use like something from the Crash Course, and sometimes I can come up with my own thing to put there. Also, like I said, one of the big themes when we have been adding things onto the timeline is how everything starts blending together. So as you can kind of see here, as Europe is going through the Dark Ages, and as the Dark Ages slowly end, then the Renaissance is just starting to begin. So it's not really like a hard stop, like the Dark Ages end and then the Renaissance begins. Like the Renaissance is starting and the Dark Ages are ending, and it's really cool how those overlap, and there's not really a certain way to tell when the Renaissance started and when the Dark Ages ended. And as you can see, like here, the Crusades are like right before the Renaissance, and the Renaissance starts pretty much because like these Crusaders are coming home from war, and they obviously traveled a lot in their war. So number one, they've been exposed to all sorts of different cultures and things like that, so they're bringing knowledge over, as well as they're just kind of tired of fighting. So usually a big war will be followed by a nice peaceful time, and that's kind of what we know as the Renaissance, where there was lots of literature and paintings and art and science and all sorts of stuff that was going on once the Renaissance started. And it's kind of really cool that the Crusaders like were coming home, and they were a big part of starting the Renaissance, and that's something I never would have known if we didn't start this timeline. So it's really cool just to see everything interlapping, and even like the whole big timeline, just like seeing things that I wasn't even aware of before I started watching Crash Course History all laid out in front of me, and I can see it from my bed. So the main part of interconnectivity that I really wanted to talk about is the 7-Year War, which we just added. So it's really cool that this 7-Year War just kind of started, and then it led to all sorts of things happening in the future. And we haven't added those yet, but it's right there. This is like kind of what started, this is really what started America. Because like the French and Indian War broke out, which is a big part of the 7-Year War, and even though you would probably think by the title, the French and Indian War, that the French and the Indians were fighting, it was actually England fighting the French and the Indians. So the French and the Indians were kind of in the new Americas with the colonists, and the colonists had England's protection because they were scared of the Indians and the French, and they would be like kicking everyone out and stuff like that. So they were all scared of that happening, so England was protecting them, and due to the French and Indian War, and then after the French and Indian War, England won that war, but England was in huge debt because England was paying for that war, so England had to start raising taxes. And raising taxes is what led to the American Revolution, the Boston Tea Party, and all sorts of stuff happening like that. And the colonists weren't afraid of the French and the Indians anymore, so they didn't need England's protection anymore, and since England was in huge debt, they didn't want really that much protection because it wasn't very good protection. So they branched out from England, and then they started the American Revolution, Revolution happened, and then America started to become a thing. The United States of America started to become a thing, and then French actually supported us in that war, which is really weird because we were just fighting the French, and then suddenly the French are supporting us, but it's probably because the French don't like the English, so the French just wanted to do anything that they could to fight back at the English. So the French were supporting us, and then France was in huge debt because they paid for us financially, and they supported us throughout that war. So then the French were in debt, and then because the French were in debt, that started the French Revolution, and all sort of stuff just started happening, all because of the French and Indian War breaking out during the 7-Year War, which actually lasted 9 years, and then it just blam, all sorts of stuff happened, and it's just like the reason why the world is the world it is today is because England wanted the territory that the French and the Indians had. And that is the entire reason why everything, like why the United States of America even exists, and why the French Revolution happened, and why all of these things started happening. So as always, a huge thank you to John Green and his team for making Crash Course World History. And like, it's super duper amazing because Crash Course has gotten me into learning history, and then I learn these things, and then we go somewhere else, we go to a different place, and we start learning more about that, and we listen to podcasts and watch other videos and all sorts of stuff to research what we just put on our timeline, and it's all really, really cool. And I'm really excited. I'm like, when history starts getting really interesting and everyone starts getting really excited about it, as you can see like this giant chain reaction of events happening, and I'm pretty sure there were giant chain reactions of events happening back then, like way back with the Roman Empire and Egypt and the River Indus Society and all that. Like, I'm sure there were lots of events there, but like this right here is really kind of what caused all this to be on the timeline right here, because like the Crusaders were coming back from their war, which happened because all sorts of stuff had happened back then, and just everything starts happening, and I can understand this huge chain link of events that just ended up to the world today. And it's really, really amazing to see that. So a huge thank you to John and his team for making Crash Course. So yeah, thanks for watching, and it's tomorrow. Bye!